Hello and welcome to Neon Ghost Hour, your pop culture podcast. My name is Benjamin Fiege and I'm happy to welcome a special guest for today's episode, Tasmin Archer. With Sleeping Satellite, Tasmin landed a worldwide hit in the early 90s. After 20 years out of the spotlight, she's back now with a new album. In this interview, we talk about her return, her new record, and the secrets behind Sleeping Satellite. So, enjoy today's episode. If you like what you hear, subscribe and recommend us to your friends and family. And if not, to your worst enemies.
Neon Ghosts. Ghost Hour. A pop culture podcast.
First things first, Tasmin, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, I had a lot of interviews last week and the week before, which was quite interesting because it was a long day. But yeah, I'm getting used to it, I think.
Back in the promo game, so to speak.
Yeah, yes, back in the promo game. Yeah.
Did something change the way interviews are done compared to your last fight?
Except for meeting people in person, and then also having, your staff that work for EMI. They used to be always around you and getting things for you and doing whatever. So it was a little bit more hectic, I would think. It's more relaxed now, I think, doing it this way. I think, but I do miss having the physical, presence there. But you can't really jot around the world when you're on a budget that we are.
Maybe with the next album then again.
Yeah, maybe that would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, some people might ask themselves, where have you been all this time?
Yeah. Yeah, they do ask me. Well, I think the last music that we had out was On, which is our first independent record that we put out for on our own record label, which is set up purposely to do that. Um, and I think that was quite a steep learning curve for us because we'd never done anything, had to do everything from scratch right through to the marketing and all of that other stuff. So you have to learn all of that as you go. And also you have to learn how to get the sounds that you want, especially when we have our own setup, our own recording studio at home. And so you have to really make sure that the sounds are good quality and learn a lot of different things. I know that John did a lot of learning at that time, in just getting the right sounds and making sure that nothing was bleeding. And, because where we live, there are planes that go overhead and you can hear the odd dog barking and things like this. So you don't really have that luxury that you had when you were with a big label, where you had all the expertise that they had for many, many years, the engineers and the producers. Although John was always very interested in that side of it, and I must clarify, John is my writing partner and co-writing partner and also a long-term partner. And we started out for a long time ago before we were signed. We were writing together and things like that. So yeah, so it was quite tough going and also getting the music played. Back then you had to have a plugger you'd have to hire a plugger to get your music on the radio. These days it's a little bit different and there's a lot more platforms, so it's changed a lot for us, but there's a lot more work involved as well. There's many hats that you have to wear, and I think that it came as a surprise and a shock to us, I think, to the system of how we had to maneuver things and place our resources in the right areas and things like that, which we learned to do. So it wasn't a waste, and we learned a lot of things from that helped us with this record. So yeah, that took some time. And when we finished that and that had run its course, we kind of sat down and thought, well, we are not in a hurry now to put out another album. not yet anyway. And but as time passed, our life priorities had changed, and our music projects and diversified, and we were looking at film music and doing sync and things like that for TV, and John was doing a lot of studying in that area, and that's a different ball game to just releasing your music. There are connections that you have to make, and there are stipulations of how that's done, and just a lot goes into it. So we spent quite a bit of time looking at that. Or should I say, John spent more time looking at it than I did. But during that period, we never stopped writing and recording little demos and things like that. So over time, we were building up a huge catalogue of work that was in various stages of completion. And it was during the time of the pandemic that we sat down and we had time to kind of take stock and have a look at what we'd got. And we found that there were a lot of good music that we had been accumulating over that time, and suddenly we thought, well, why not finish it? Because we had the desire to kind of work on them. We were listening to them and we were liking them, and we thought, well, we'll just choose a few out of 100, perhaps 30, and then we'll set a plan to finish those. And that's what we did. And out of that 30, we chose the 11 songs on a Cauldron of Random Notes. So now we've got quite a lot of the music ready to maybe, in quick succession, we could release maybe 2 albums and an EP, or a few EPs and an album, that kind of thing. So people aren't waiting such a long time for the songs to come. And they're all different kinds of vibes to those songs as well. Some of them are very rocky and some of them are quite sort of indie sounding. And yeah, so that gives us a space then to continue developing the other songs that we've got. And also we did continue writing as well, some new stuff on top of that. So I think we'll be busy for quite some time.
So would you say, like you said, the songs were created over a certain span of time. Were they designed with the ultimate goal, okay, one day we're gonna release them, or was it really more for, we do that for us, like even if nobody will ever hear them, we do it for us? Or was it always your goal, okay, one day when the time is right, I'm gonna release it somehow, somewhere, somewhen?
I think so. In the back of your mind, you kind of think that, but it's not something that you really lay a plan out to do. We thought that it would be a shame not to develop them. A lot of them were songs that, like I say, they were in different form, various stages of completion. So we looked at songs that we really felt were nearer that mark, and also songs that we felt represented that time that we were all going through. Because at that time, the world was changing, and we felt a desire to put our thoughts and our observations out there, and hopefully give some I don't know, so give something out to the world and to ourselves, and yeah, we felt the muse to do it. So yeah, it was something maybe is always at the back of our mind in a sense. Yeah, it wasn't at the forefront of our mind because we were looking at other things. And during that time, at the pandemic time, we were also dealing with issues with family members and elderly members having to be taken care of, as with everybody else at that time. It was quite an unusual situation, let's put it that way.
Yeah. Do you think without the pandemic they would have seen that album would exist now, or would exist down the line? Or you think like, okay, the pandemic was really now the
Catalyst, maybe, yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that it was. Yeah, I'm not really sure whether they would have come out anytime soon, because we had reluctantly really just felt like we weren't going to release any more Tasmin Archer music, quote unquote. It wasn't our desire at that time, and like I say, we were still very interested in trying to get music into TV and film and all of that.
Mm.
So who knows, really? I don't know.
What would you say, or what is the oldest song on the record, the one that was written way back when, and what's the freshest song, so to speak? And is there like a song when
Yeah.
you decided we put out an album that you created a completely fresh song from scratch for it?
Um, I'm looking at them now, and I did make some notes because it's such a long time ago that you obviously have a different memory of it at that time. But we did have, like for instance, Hysteria. We did have that for many years, and I think it was around about um, the pandemic time that the lyrics were actually finished around about that time, if I'm not mistaken. It's either Hysteria and a few more round about that time that we looked at and we thought, finish the lyrics for them. Because like Free Fall was one of those that was sitting and waiting, that was quite old. Um, and we had the demo for this song in 2008, along with the lyrics at that time. But we just had acoustic guitar and I think it was vocals and a version of the vocal guide
Mm.
vocal there, and we had some further instrumentation and also some vocal ideas for the backing vocals. But we worked on a lot of the backing vocals later on, so that came very fresh at that time. We tend to just add things, and we tend to kind of um, even if we have a demo of a song that we've had from way back, we'll sometimes even, deconstruct that whole thing and change it into a different vibe and, a different flavor, musical flavor to it. We'll just change it altogether or strip it right back and take a lot out. And, that's what happens when you go to the mix, really. When you get to the mix, you look at it and you think, is this actually very necessary? And if it isn't,
Mm.
we just drop it out, and if it works without it, we don't bother putting it back in. um, so yeah, I would say that most of the songs were around 2008. Some were even earlier than that.
Mhm.
Madam Joy was one that comes to mind because, and I do remember that because we have our friend our dear friend that's passed away now, Steve Donnelly, who was the guitarist that played on Bloom, our second album. He came across to where we were and offered to just play on the demo tracks that we had going at that time, and that was just after Bloom, and we had a bit of a break, but then we were getting back into it, and we had a studio that was not in the house. We had it somewhere else, and he came over and sort of jammed over the top of a lot of stuff that we had back then. And he's on actually a few of the other ideas that we've got that are in the pipeline, which we mentioned that he's played on.
Mhm.
So yeah, he played over the top of Madam Joy, um, and that's the only one really with another musician on it, other than myself and John.
Mhm.
That's the only track that on this album that has anybody else on it. So that's kind of like an homage to him, and every time I hear it, I kind of think of him and the time that we had when he came over and jammed on that track, over that track, which he was a brilliant musician. He's played for many, many other musicians, with Mitchell Froome being the producer, and he knew him very well. So, yeah. So I think that a lot of those songs that are on there, I can't think of one that's really, oh, Vibration of Life, I think was probably one of the most recent ones, because I remember having an idea for that. I'd cut up a few loops, and I had a chant going. It was more of a chant, like a tribal chant. And I also had on another session that I'd been working on a different idea. I got the when all the facts revealed bit, and thought that that worked well with it. So yeah, so we worked on that. That was, I think, most recent.
Mhm.
the most recent one, as I can recall. Yeah.
When you say like you had like a bunch of hits, you mentioned like I think around 100 songs that you
We
have
took a batch of 100, but we've got more than 100.
more than 100.
We've got hundreds. So we couldn't just put the whole lot in there and just be confused. So we had to have a look through and think, right, we'll just look at these.
Yeah.
And from those 100, we chose 30 that we'd really set to finish. And that was a lot more easier of a chunk to take out and digest. Yeah.
With that approach, I can imagine it has the advantage, I would say, it fills a bit of the blanks. Yeah, like people can see, okay, that's what she was up to over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
The last album was released. That's what moved her. That's what she listened to or got inspired from. On the other hand, I can imagine when you try to condense it to a track list for a new album, um, it might be hard, or maybe you can tell us about that. It might be hard to find a bunch of songs that fit
Yeah.
together. Yeah.
Yeah. They had to have a cohesive feel, and that's what we felt that was important for the album. With any album that we do, we like to think of it as akin to a book, and paragraphs in a book or whatever. So it has to have that momentum. Um, with all of the songs that go back, some of them that go back really far back, um, they're usually in a state that still is growing. It's still an embryo. It's not set in stone. So as long as the kernel of the idea of the song is there and the lyric idea is pretty much there, like John will work on the lyrics. It was, like I said, in 2020, even then he was looking at the lyrics and changing lyrics, and they developed as well. So the child was growing, and so it didn't stay stagnant in one era of time or one time frame, which it developed over time. And I think that that's a good thing, because you can see within it, in a way we can, how it kind of grew and became present and real.
Mm.
So we looked at all of the songs, and the 30 songs that we looked at, we listened to those over and over again. We made a list, several lists of songs that worked together, and we had a group and a batch that worked together, that we felt worked together. And from that group, then we whittled things down even further to look at tempo, to look at the mood, how it worked from one into the other. John was looking at keys as well, the kind of keys that they were moving into the other, and what the subject matter was. Everything came into play when we were listening to how they moved from one to the next to the next. And that's how we just came up with it, the feel and what we felt worked well, together.
Mhm.
So yeah, and also within the structure of how we move from one to the other, there are so many different um, emotions. There's a wide range of emotions, so we had to make sure that they, had a flow too, um, and the flavors had a flow. So, you start off with onions, don't you? When you're frying something and you're making something, then you put in the whatever else you want to put in. So you kind of think of it like that, like making a really good recipe.
Mhm.
Um, it's always very personal. If I'd have given this to somebody else to do, they may have heard that and seen it a little bit differently. But we're the ones making it, and we're the ones in there, and we do have um, um, other people that we trust from outside that we'll send maybe um, our sort of list that we feel may work, and we have options. And so, if anybody else that we trust has a different idea, we'll take a look at that as well and have that in there. in the mix, because you can get too close to things, and that can happen
Mm.
a lot.
Although the songs were not originally designed to be together, so to speak, I feel like the album really achieved that cohesiveness that you mentioned. For me, like when I listened to it and checked out the lyrics and all, it really feels like it reflects the time we are living somehow. Yeah,
Yes,
you have like also the like how torn we all are and how torn we feel in these crazy times we live in. Like
yes,
there are songs that are really like vibrating and are empowering and are yeah, one life. We have to work together. We have to
yes,
work together, and then on the
yeah,
other hand, there are songs who sound a bit more moody, who sounds a
yeah.
bit more
Inward, more introspective. Yes, there
introspective.
is like silent witness is kind of encompasses all of that, because it's also it's philosophically you're looking introspectively about war, and you're questioning, you know, are we doing enough? You're questioning yourself. Am I doing enough? Is my silence part of the problem? Is you know, are we kind of responsible in other ways that we haven't thought about? And so it helps you to kind of dig down into that, and hopefully we provoke that thought in other people as well, that maybe don't think of war in that way. They think of it as it's over there, it's not affecting me, I don't like it, but it's over there, and what can we do? And because of this, I mean, also it asks whether we can do anything about it outwardly. You know, it might be a case of the war within yourself to correct that first, and then maybe that manifests in a different world. So yeah, we look at things in from many different angles, because there isn't just one point of view, there isn't just one perception of things. So we try to encompass so many things, and there are layers to how we look at lyrics and the music as well to help with that landscape.
Mm. Your own personality, do you tend more being an optimist or a pessimist?
I think I'm both. I'm a bit of both. I think I can be quite pessimistic about things, but then I try to remind myself that basically the world is what it is, and over time, as you grow older, you kind of become a little bit more wiser about things, and it's inevitable. How to what degree you're wiser is a different matter, you know, and you can be quite foolish about things, still have that loop. And I talk about that loop that you have in one of the songs, Round and Round, which is doing the same thing over and over again, with those loops that keep going. And sometimes you're oblivious to the loop. And it's just about trying to wake up from the loop and stop the loop, to be just conscious about it. And and also about the rat race and how that can distract you from really the purpose of just being on this earth and doing whatever you're doing. I think that's important to me, and I like to put those things into our music.
How do you stay optimistic, or how do you leave pessimistic phases behind? Are you someone
Yeah,
who follows the news closely, like a news junkie, or
I'm not a news junkie. No, no. And I don't think both of us are not news junkies, but I think we like to know what's going on. As long as we're not too um, uh, distracted by it or too pulled into it, and can be more observe rather than be judgmental. But it's a case of this is what is going on in the world. There's no point in getting hysterical hysteria about it. No point in that, but just realize when you are being controlled by fear, and that is one of the songs, hysteria. which is how that kind of thing can happen if you're giving your attention to other people's who have a bigger platform to influence you and your thoughts. You have to be careful that you're not losing your critical thought, by just getting caught up in that whole thing. Yeah, so yeah, we watch news, but only to you have to know what's going on. I think you can't really dig your head in the sand. You have to kind of know what's going on, but also know that there is you have to create the space between that and yourself, just to have your own autonomy and your own sort of thoughts. And
Mm.
I do a lot of meditation, so I think that's kind of helps with that, keeping me optimistic about things. Yeah.
Maybe that's a good strategy. I should start meditation also after I watch Trump speeches or something.
Yeah, it is a bit like the Wizard of Oz. It's a stage, isn't it? There's a lot of play going on. There's a lot of drama going on. It depends if you want to be pulled into the drama. You sometimes get pulled into it because you have over time had these systems going, and they're very powerful. And it's not easy. It's like a drug. And it can be a drug that's not very good for you. There are drugs that you think are good at the time, but you'll always end up being addicted, and addiction isn't
Mm.
good in any case. So yeah, try to just limit the time that you watch uh, things like this, which are there designed to really upset and stop people from thinking critically and showing a bit of compassion, if you like.
Mm. Maybe also a strategy for our listeners. If you watch too much bad news, just listen to Vibration of Life. It gets you out of there. You will,
Yeah,
you
thank you. I'm so glad if that happens.
takes you out of like rolling into fetus position.
Yes. Yeah. It's just that you have to feel it, don't you? You have to kind of feel it. You can't ignore or push things down, which is like Madame Joy talks about, pushing things down, using other substances to numb the pain, and feeling that you get out of that by whatever that substance is of anybody's choice is that uses it in that way. It can't. You'll always be coming back to that if you don't recognize that that's what it is. And I think it's just a case of we all go through it. We all like to escape now and again
Mm.
from the reality of life. And but I don't think probably that's a very good, healthy thing to do anyway. So we have to be brave, I think.
Speaking of Big Rough, like how did you when the album then was about, or when you decided, okay, we are publishing an album now, we are releasing an album now,
Yeah.
was there any moment of like feeling like, oh, will people remember me? Do people still care? Is that something you
Yes,
think
I
about?
think so. I think so, yeah. I would be lying if I was telling saying that. I did think that. I did think that perhaps they wouldn't even who was it? Yeah. Um, but I was pleasantly surprised by how well received the album was, and also people wanting to hear the music that we'd made, and so it was kind of like a welcoming feeling that I got from people, because I don't think I put any real expectation on how well or how bad it would do. I'd been to the highs with the Great Expectations and what have you, and I'd been to what you might consider, or some might consider, the lows with On and Bloom not doing as well, and for various different reasons. But I accept those as being a gift in a way, because they help drive me on to doing work that I really think has depth to it. That's how I feel. I dig deeper and I go to where I think that maybe I'm adding something positive to life, and that's all I can do, really.
Mm. You guys don't have like a huge label now in the back, so you're also you're doing
No,
it
it's
independent, yeah? Like you also have to step into the business side of things now. How does it feel now in these times releasing an album? It's completely different, I guess, even from
yes,
the last
yeah,
album you put, like you have to be on social media, you have to
yeah,
streaming
yeah.
was not a thing back then.
No, yeah, it's changed. A lot of it's changed, and that's down to the technology. I would have thought, like with all things now, and in the workplace, things are just changing beyond what we would have imagined, I guess, and it's hard to keep up. I think that, in a way, I think that it's not always good. It's not a good thing because I think that it takes you away from the the more contemplative side of the human nature and the more community side of human nature and the more um, l- nature side of it all. I think that we're becoming too dependent upon these things. I'm not sure that it's a good thing. I don't see it working out that well
Mm.
for the human condition, I would think. That's my concern over it. And I'm torn when I have to go and do a lot of social media and be on there and say, hey, look at this, and hey, follow this, and I've got this. I feel um, a little strange doing it. It's a bit bizarre in my mind. I don't mind it so much when I'm putting out something that I feel has um, a depth to it and has worth to it and is positive. I feel that keeps me going
Mm.
and contributing in the whole um, mechanics of how all of this works. I think that keeps me going, I think, and grounded. Um, but to kind of go on there and just talk about banal things or to push to sell things is just doesn't sit quite well with me. It seems it seems on its own it seems solely bizarre, a bizarre thing to do. But if it comes with a an authenticity of of positivity and inclusiveness and growth in that respect, then I'm okay. I can deal with it.
I always feel like, and that's generally speaking, not about your social media account. Um, I always feel like I understand that artists have to do that nowadays, but on the other hand, it takes away so much of the mystique. As someone who grew up with pop stars and rock stars, where you saw pictures of them in the magazines and on MTV, Viva, and then nowadays you see people dancing in their living room for
Yes,
with a bad
yes.
camera. Somehow it's like I always think like.
I don't really want to see
Well,
that.
and I also feel like it's stop. I mean, obviously there are still stars nowadays, but I don't know if people, if the young generation will of artists now will ever reach that mystique, that level of like the
Yeah,
old bunch.
yeah.
Maybe that's just me.
I no, no. I think I understand totally what you're saying. I think that was the whole magic was right there with that mystique. Um, I remember listening to artists on the radio when I was very young, and I used to have a little transistor radio, and that whole feeling of it all being very magical and mysterious and and just intriguing.
Mm,
So intrigued to make up a story about the artist myself and who they were and what they meant to me, and to just have it now in black and white, if you like, and written down or just right in your face is kind of in it's kind of like, a little strange. It's like somebody trying to push something on you. Whereas you have now this, when you were younger, you had the space to explore things yourself without being programmed to think a certain way. You would make that your own story, would incorporate it into your own life, and you didn't have to see them eating their food and going shopping and having a camera everywhere. And I am I am so I'm so hard to motivate to get into that place to do that because I kind of see the point. I just don't see the point.
Yeah, it's really, and they also that I hear from a lot of artists in the moment, the algorithm changes, like they really force you to push out stuff, otherwise nobody sees your profile.
Nobody sees you, yeah, and it's flooded with art, with music, and people claiming to be uh, singer-songwriters, and some of them are just dreadful. There's no other way of putting it. It's just that it's because it's so available to everybody, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just think that there was um, there was a kind of rite of passage, if you like, for artists at
Mm,
one time, and now it's free for all. Anybody get in there, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that there is a kind of a mystique to that rite of passage, like a journey that you've gone through, and it's like the hero's journey, if you like.
yeah.
That's how I like to look at it, very romantically, I suppose, and like an adventure, and I don't feel that it just seems very banal and generic, if you like,
Yeah.
and unoriginal, and I suppose everybody's saying, "Oh, let's get on to the most recent uh, TikTok thing, or the new recent uh, music uh, vibe that everybody's jumped on, and everybody has to sound the same. Everybody has to do that thing. To me, that's just like the record company saying we want the same song again because the other one was very successful. There's no room for growth. There is no room for any of that sort of thing, and I'm not for that. I don't think that's a real authentic way to look at music or to look at people in life.
Mm. Yeah, here in Germany. First of all, sorry.
Yeah,
Um,
go ahead.
you said like the feedback was very good for the new album. I think it even hit the charts in the UK, if I'm not.
Um, I think I think it was a high seller at the first week it went in. I think our publisher sent us some information, statistics on that, but I don't think it actually went in the charts. I think the confusion was that it was at number 52 in the charts because of another statistic, which was that it had gone in, it had sold or done something that made it happen, but it wasn't officially in the actual chart, the English charts yet.
Okay.
I haven't checked lately, but it was doing well its first release date, and I think that's what the statistics were. And I think we got a bit confused with it.
But people
It-
remembered. High seller means people remembered. Since we just talked before, would people would people remember your fears, so to speak?
yes, yes, people did remember. Um, I mean, yeah, obviously, Great Expectations and Sleeping Satellite did, really well worldwide. So yeah, it's not as if it was a mild, small hit.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, they would remember, but I didn't have that feeling that, oh yes, there would be people waiting on our music and they would love to hear it. And all all we wanted to do was to just put the music out, and if anybody was interested in what we were doing, then that was great.
And you mentioned it was actually Sleeping Satellite was really a worldwide hit. So people use
Mm,
that term always a bit loosely. I I
yeah.
I, I learned. Especially my girlfriend is Ugandan. She always say when people say worldwide, it usually means Europe and the US. Nobody thinks of Africa and so. But even in Uganda,
Oh,
that was a hit. She told me. I
oh, wow. I mean, I know I've looked at charts of in the past where it tells you what number it was and how well it done. Australia and Japan and places like that, which, that's quite far reaching. And Brazil and so, so it was worldwide.
yeah.
Um,
Even she loved that as a kid. She told me she was 3, I think, at that time. She was a bit
oh.
of the video. She told me because of the stars. She was, like I said, 3 years old. She loved the song but was afraid of the video.
Yes, afraid of the video. The video had this kind of Dickensian thing. It was not my idea. It was an idea of the director at the time, Lawrence Dunmore, and he is actually some big shot director in films as well. But in those days, I think he was doing a lot of music videos for record labels and things like that, and we worked with him on that video. And he had the idea of having like a laboratory and sort of an old professor type person and then an angel. So it was all his concept. Um, Although the concept, the dress and the way that I dressed was my idea. It was always something that I felt looked really cool at that time. They used to have fob watches and things like that. And they used to have like shirts that used to stick out from their coats, and it was white and all frilly and things. And I used to love that sort of dress. It just looks very, I don't know, it's just theatrical, I guess. It was very theatrical looking. And when I was younger, I used to watch a lot of musicals on TV, musical films and things. And I suppose that kind of a look was sort of quite spangly, but yeah, it did look a bit sort of a little bit dark, I guess, as well. Yeah, but that was all down to how he envisaged the look of of the the set and everything. But it was fun to do because it was the first time I'd ever done a video in that respect.
Very
So
iconic video, I feel. And even I had the maxi single. I was 8 at the time, and you were in my
oh,
shelf between Guns N' Roses and David Hasselhoff Looking for Freedom, which every German had to own. It's like having the Bible. It's Looking for Freedom is standard at that time.
oh, was it? That's good. Oh,
It
well,
has
I'm
that
glad
cover.
that you had it up there. Yeah, we did a second version of the Sleeping Satellite video. I don't know if you ever saw it, but it was a US version. They wanted something that was not so English. They
Mm.
wanted a different version. So we did a different version with a lady called Zana, who also did In Your Care video. So that was a bit different as well. But those videos were interesting times, yeah.
Mm.
The record companies usually have say in who's going to do the videos. It's not something that we were um, up on, if you like, and we didn't really sort of think, oh, we like this director. Not as you would when you were making music. You think about all the producers, the Daniel Lanois and Mitchell Froome and people like that, that we like the sound of and of working with, and their sounds that they used to get with all their artists and things. And yeah, so, but that was on the second album, of course. On the first album, we went through a few producers before we landed on Julian Mendelssohn and Paul Wickens, who is a keyboard player for Paul McCartney's band at that time. And so, yeah, they were very enthusiastic, and they seemed to have an idea of where we were going with it. And so we just clicked, and that worked out. Unfortunately, Paul Wickens had to go back to his band with Paul McCartney halfway through the album, but he still had a lot of input from a distance, So yeah, but we got a great guy, Peter Kay, who came on board and took the place of him and worked on the rest of the album.
Mm.
So yeah, it was great working with wonderful musicians and all of the wonderful equipment and all that experience. You know, it's a well-oiled machine, really is.
It must have been crazy because that was actually the first single of you guys, yeah? In
Yes,
like
yes, that was the first
directly
single.
skyrocketed directly. How did you feel back then? You were like a star overnight. I
Yes.
suppose, yeah, like
Well, yeah, we were catapulted into you know, to the worldwide in that respect, little by little worldwide. But I mean, obviously, it grew, and yeah, it was hectic. It was there was a lot of work involved. There was interviews, and it's the traveling. It's not just the interviews. It's the traveling from place to place, and that kind of like takes a toll on the body. Once you're just from one place to the next, and you have to be up and ready all the time. And life isn't like that. So it wasn't for me then at that time. And I wasn't used to all of the attention and all of the focus being on me and talking about myself all the time. And so that was quite a learning curve for me at that time, and an unusual situation to be in at that level of exposure, if you like, because I'd always been in bands
mm,
uh, before all of that. So it wasn't as if I'd just appeared from nowhere. I'd been, backup singer for quite a few local bands in my area when I was quite young after leaving school. And after that, I became a lead singer of a band. So I'd always taken tiny steps to get myself out in the front and be confident and have my confidence grow
mm,
in a very organic way. Nothing prepares you for the level of exposure that you get when you're with a big label, record label. There are a lot of people um, talking to you about this. We want you to do this. We've got to go there to do that. We need you to go and talk to this person about this. We need you to perform for these people. We need you to go to this record shop and meet and greet these people. And we need you to fly out to so-and-so place and do some interviews there. There are a few very early mornings and very late nights, dinners with executives of that are related to the label and record shops and radio stations. It's a lot of meet and greet. Hello.
It's like when you like it's the first shot directly number one. I can imagine it can go both ways. That's also like something I hear from artists that I interview. Either you're like directly off the ground and they're Madonna who, Whitney who, now it's my time.
Yeah.
It's like imposter syndrome almost like oh Jesus,
Yes. Yeah.
hopefully nobody knows or I will
Well, yeah. They'll all find out I'm a fake. They'll all find out that I'm not this big pop star. I'm just a normal person from another, from a neighborhood that isn't rich or, you know, I haven't had the greatest of education, and they'll find out. They'll find out. Oh no, don't shine the light on me. Yeah, there was all of that going on, definitely. But there was also a part of me that felt very much, I had faith in the music that I was doing, and that kept me and my passion going, and the drive going. It's the music that kept it going, and it does to this day.
Hmm. Can imagine like one day you worked regular jobs before. I heard that in a few interviews, and the next day Lenny Kravitz is handing you an award.
Yes. Yeah, it seems that it's happening like that, but there are so many different steps towards that. Um, yeah, I remember the times when the three of us were sending demo tapes off and to publishers and to record companies, um, trying to get signed, and we had to take time off our jobs to go to London because we were based in the north of England, and so we'd have to take transport to go there and go and do some like what they call showcases and meet and greet people to persuade them to sign us. And so yeah, it was pretty I don't know, there was a lot of time away from um work that I had to kind of ask my boss if I could go take this time off. Eventually, John, my partner, said, "Oh, just leave the job. I can take care of you in that respect, and you can we can all go to the all of these little functions and these things and meetings that we have to do." Um, because he had a job that was like a shift work where he was a manager for a big chemical company, and so he worked shifts and he could organize it so that he could get time off. With my job, I think as I worked as a clerk typist for a uh, petty fines magistrate's office, I had to be careful how much time I could take off
Hmm.
without being in trouble about that. So yeah, so it wasn't so easy for me. And the other partner at that time that we were writing with, John Beck, his father owned a company,
Yeah.
so he was able to take time off without worrying about losing his job.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I was lucky to have John. He had my back.
Can I
Yeah.
ask?
So from there, that was it was yeah, when we were on the Brit Awards, we were performing live on the Brit Awards actually as
Hmm.
well. And that was quite nerve-wracking because there were so many people, so many artists around. There was Peter Gabriel, Annie Lennox, there was loads of other people around as well. And it was just about the amount of artists that you we saw at that time and thinking, gosh, I'm here. It's just so surreal. I'm here with all these people that I watched on Top of the Pops and wherever else. And yeah, so I had to kind of calm myself down and
One cannot
and
ask
basically
people for autographs in that situation.
yeah, well, no, I don't ever do that. I just, yeah, you've got to keep it classy, haven't you, really? And and yeah, so we had performed on that on the stage at the Brit Awards, and also then I was told that I was going to get the award given to me by Lenny Kravitz, and we were waiting in the back to go up to collect the award and everything, and he'd gone up, and I remember feeling so it was like unreal to me. I felt like I was in a dream. It was really strange. And when I went up to collect the award and Lenny Kravitz given me the award, I was thinking the only thing that came to my mind was that how tall Lenny Kravitz was and how I felt like like Tolkien, Lord, the Lord of the Rings. I felt like he was the wizard, and I was like this little hobbit or something. That's what I thought, because and he even had, he's tall anyway, and he even had like platform boots on. He was gigantic. I just kept thinking about that as I was up there. It was just strange. And yeah, it's an honor to get something like that, but I always think that it is something that the record industry push for, and it's to promote your album. It's not as if you get it from the public, straight off. There is an award that comes from the public, to certain artists where they vote, but this is basically an industry award, and yeah, so you're pushed forward to sell more records. in effect. Yes, I know. It's a bit, looking at it like that, but that's the reality of it. And the reality is what it is. So yeah. Uh, but yeah, I was pleased to just be given something like that. It was just a little bit of a dream because I used to rehearse that in front of my mirror with a brush and thank people. I'd like to thank, just pretending and playing a game, never realizing that that would happen.
And then
Yeah,
I think
so
hopefully I don't forget anyone now.
yeah, yes. But I was told a few hours before, and I wrote down what I needed to write down to thank people because it would be dreadful to not thank people. Yeah, let's face it, to get to that level, you have to have a lot of people who are working behind the scenes doing things for you.
I mean,
Yeah.
itself was of course recognized back then. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been that of a huge hit. But I still feel it was a bit ahead of its time almost. When you listen to when you read through the lyrics, that song could,
Yes.
could come out today, and
Yeah.
things did not change much. This
No, no, no. John wrote the lyrics. He was back in 1989, before we were even signed to a label. We'd got the idea for the song. John Hughes and myself were just, he was on acoustic guitar, just playing a few chords, messing about, and I just joined in and came up with a melody idea and had a few lyric lines. I blame you for the moonlit sky and things, nonsense lines after that, and and we developed the song on from there and did a demo of it. And John went away one day, and I think he was sat in the sunshine just reading like a science mag or a journal or something. I can't remember what it was. And it was about the round about the time of the 20th anniversary of the man's first landing on the moon. And it was asking questions in the article. Had we done anything since there? Why haven't we done this? And all of that kind of thing. And he thought it was a good subject matter to write about. And he came to me and he said, "What do you think about the title, Sleeping Satellite?" And I said, "Oh, that's wonderful. What is it about?" And he explained what he wanted to write about. And I thought, yeah, we're doing this. And yeah, that's how it came about. It's just basically a really good subject matter. And I know that it that time of man's landing on the moon, I think the whole um, Western countries were very, very intrigued, and America especially, obviously, because after Sputnik and everything, they were just determined to go one better. And there was a lot of propaganda going on around that time. People wanting to get the public behind that project and the dream of that would create within the whole of society, and how that would bolster their own image of themselves, how they achieved certain things. There was a lot of intricate political things going on with that dream. And it seemed to, after that, it seemed there was nothing after that. There was nothing much happening after that. And so people were just intrigued to know why. And, can we do something just as equally as good and follow on from that? So it was a really good subject matter to delve into, which is what we like to do. So yeah.
If it was released today, probably you would have all these moon landing conspiracy theorists on your case.
Yes, yeah, well, we did at the time. We had
I
quite a
thought,
few. Yeah, we had, well, also we had a lot of scientists and people at space related people that worked on these kinds of things got in touch with us and wanted to talk to us about the song. And it was just it, it touched a lot of people from a lot of areas and people who were involved with that side of things. Yeah, space astronauts, and we got to do a show in Glasgow, where it was a conference for all of the people involved in all that kind of work. Yeah, it really did touch. touch people in a very um, unusual way, because I think that some people, general public, may have seen that song as being a love song.
Mm.
A lot of people who didn't really read the lyrics or didn't understand what the lyrics were about were asking us, what's this song about? And intrigued, and that we had to explain it. Oh, I never thought of it like that. I never thought it was a song like that. I thought it was a love song or something like that, which, everybody has a different way of picking up on a song's lyrics, or maybe not even listening to the song lyrics that closely, and just hearing the melody and the mood of it, and that's what they got out of it. Yeah, it touched different people in different ways, and it was amazing, really. I think good thing.
It's the secret behind a good song, that it works for many people in different ways,
On
that it
different levels. Yeah,
levels
yeah.
it relatable. For you, in retrospect, would you say it was a blessing, or it was also a bit of a curse? Because we talked about, or you hinted on it, like the aftermath of it, like the great expectations of the label, and
Yes,
after.
yes, I did it myself. I did. Yeah, I had that title in my mind because I always liked the book. I liked the movie, the Great Expectations movie, and I liked the character Pip in there. So I was feeling an affinity with the character and all of that. So the emotion of that led me to want to call the album Great Expectations. Um, yeah, at the time, I think that I didn't realize that it was going to do as well as it did.
Mm.
I had no idea, because I just felt that it was a good song. I felt that I wanted to share that song, and we wanted to share the song with everyone. And we didn't know how far it would go. We thought maybe it would go in the charts and it'd do okay. And we didn't worry about that, because we would get more music and we put more music out under it. But when it shot to the place straight away, I think we thought, whoa, this is, and then everything took off even further, because there was a lot more interest and it got more hectic. And I think I was feeling fatigued by that time. I'm talking about it, just the workload and everything just was a lot for me to handle. And I think I got a bit of a burnout over it. And I think by the end of that, I felt when we had to go back to the record label, they were wanting another album out very quick in succession, but we had not factored in for that. We hadn't thought that we had to have something ready to go or was working on at that time, because we were working on promoting Great Expectations and working on um, doing shows and everything else that went with that. So we didn't give ourselves we didn't plan the time to have to sit quietly and create space and have other inspirations coming in. All you had at that time was what was in front of you, and very little time and space to think about anything else, really. And also, if you really think about it, Great Expectations was all those songs that were on Great Expectations were like an accumulation of all of my influences, all of John Hughes's influences, all of John Beck's influences, and throughout the span of time, condensed into an album. And you have to have time then to go away and collect yourself and have other experiences then to write about. And I don't think I gave any thought to how that was going to, work out. And so at that time, EMI said to us, why don't you uh, do some covers, do a cover EP? And I really was against that. I didn't want to do it. I, I was really stubborn. I didn't want to do it. Um, I wanted to do original material. I wanted to have time and go away and write and then come back. But as the machine doesn't stop for anything really. And so they kind of pushed and pushed. And I thought, well, if I have to do one, um, of an artist, cover songs of an artist, why not Elvis Costello? Because I'm always singing his songs and I love his music and I sing it to myself, you know, whenever I listen to it, I'm always singing along. And so I thought, well, yeah, at least I get joy out of that. And I picked three songs that I like. And John picked shipbuilding because I wasn't familiar with shipbuilding, of course. Unfortunately, I wasn't. And when he showed, and that was the first one he'd mentioned to me before I went and chose the other three. He said, "We're doing this one," and I said, "Well, I don't even know it." And so he played it to me, and I had this sense of like dread because I was thinking it's so jazzy, it's so unusual. You know, how am I going to do this? You know, I had to really hone down and listen to this song and feel that I had a grounding in understanding what I was doing because doing other people's songs is quite a feat in itself because you have to really have something new of yourself into it. Otherwise, what is the point? I don't see a point to it. And so we altered a bit of how it developed and pushed my own. I put my own sort of feeling into it and had a different vibe without going straying too far away from the original version of it. So yeah, I was terrified at the prospect of doing that song, particularly, but I'm glad I did because I learnt a lot from doing it. And the other three songs on there, like All Grown Up, was something that I felt more a connection with because it relates to, from a point of view from a teenager and their angst about certain things. And I felt I could relate to that. And I really felt that I'd done a good job with it. And I was vindicated because Elvis Costello actually said to me, yes, you did you owned that song. And I said, oh, I was so, oh, thank God. Because it was what I felt. I felt I'd done well with it as well. And to have him say that too, it made me feel good that I'd done a decent job with that one too. So, yeah. So we had to do that to kind of keep the record company happy. And then we went away and started writing for Bloom. And with Bloom, I wanted to just expand our horizons. We wanted to do something different. We wanted to have a more rootsy type sound to it, more grit, less floaty like a pop song. And, you know, we wanted to do something different. So we wanted more organic sounding. And we thought about who we'd want to work with, and we went with Mitchell Froome and Chad Blake, and we felt that that was who we wanted to work with. And they were agreeable with it right up until we'd even finished the album. They'd followed it all the way through, and they were right behind it. And we'd finished the album and handed it over, and personnel had changed at that exact time. I mean, that's not good. And so when the personnel had changed, I think they felt that they wanted to put their stamp on things. And so that's when the disagreement and difference of opinions started then. And I think we kind of dug our heels in and said we liked it how it sounded, and we were happy with what Mitchell Froome and Chad Blake had done. And so therefore we wanted it how it was. But reluctantly, they sat on it for a year and a bit and then put it out without much push at all, really. And I think that kind of like soured our relationship, and I think it never recovered after that. So, yeah.
After you
So,
parted ways with them, did you initially feel like a relief, like, oh, finally I'm out of that machine? Or was it more like, oh my God, what now? How do you?
oh no, I was relieved, totally relieved, 100% relieved. I felt now we can do what we want. We did what we wanted before they came along. You know, they just wanted a Mark II because that was successful. And they want really they weren't really prepared to have, the ups and the downs of the wave of how artists it usually develops. And they just really wanted a lot of it. And I think it was changing back then at that time. They weren't signing as many artists, new artists. They were looking at their old catalogs and looking at the people that they had there already putting out music. So things were changing even at that time when it happened. So for us, that was a good thing for us because we could then write the songs that we wanted to write and developed in the direction that we wanted to go in without anybody saying, doing an album by numbers or whatever. So yeah, I was relieved at it.
Now you are free, a free independent artist. You're free to go everywhere you want. When do you
Yeah.
want to bring your new songs to Germany?
Oh, yeah. Like I say, we've got like a few more albums or EPs in the pipeline now. Just a few bits and pieces need to be done, and the mix, and then the mastering of it, and all of that good stuff. And then it will be ready to just, come after this album. This album that we've got, The Cauldron of Random Notes, has run its course. We will be releasing in quick succession of these songs that we've got on different various, things like the LP, maybe an album, maybe a EP might come next. I don't know. We haven't decided yet. But once we need to keep the flow going. Once we start breaking up the flow to try and do live work and perhaps even traveling to places to do any touring or anything like that, it breaks up the momentum really. And we want to still write and complete the rest of the songs that we've got, and we have new songs as well. And so we want to just keep that going. But we will, we want to do some shows. So we're going to engineer something or just make sure that we factor in that time between, a time that's good for us, and do some work with a band, a small setup. And we don't want it sort of to be too straightforward. We want it to have some kind of a flavour to it, because that would be boring just to get some guys together and bash something out. But I'd rather do something a little bit more interesting. So that thought and that imagination is there already to try and think of ways that we would like to explore performing our new songs and old songs as well.
If you go on tour or do shows, you think they will be probably UK, or you think could be even outside also?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it's outside as well because it would be good to do something like this. We've never done independently, we've never done it without a record label, and using their resources to actually go abroad and do shows. So we'd have to start off very kind of strategically doing small shows and working that up and see how that all flows through in an organic way, and then maybe move to doing shows in Europe and places like that, and not too far afield like the States or anything like that yet. But that could come, depending on how things go, really. Or if things pan out the way we want it to, we want to be touring Europe, Japan, America, everywhere, really.
We follow and keep our readers and listeners informed. Would be
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Benjamin.
Yeah, thank you, Tasmin. It was a
Thank you.
very nice conversation. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was a fun for me too. Thanks.
And now a message from our sponsors.
The world talks about Africa, but when you want real insights, it crickets. That's why we built Raw Academy. Access in-depth insights from Africa's top entrepreneurs, investors, and industry leaders. Not just headlines, but real strategies, real opportunities. Discover high-growth sectors navigate emerging markets, and learn the nuances that drive success. At Raw, we give you the tools to make decisions that are smart, strategic, and profitable. From tech and startups to agriculture and energy, we connect you to Africa's most promising sectors. This isn't about charity, it's about opportunity. Business leaders, investors, and entrepreneurs, it's time to take action. Visit the RAW website at resources.raw.academy. Gain the knowledge, make the move, and own the future.